Pete's Power Rankings, we can't get away from them, nor would we ever want to. Presented by FanDuel. Pete has given us the top 10 players according to him. That is the asterisks you need to keep in mind. According to him, still in the playoffs, Patrick Mahomes coming in at number 1. Maybe he's just there because he's going to stay there until he can be dethroned. Josh Allen coming in at number 2. Saquon Barkley, a running back. So high on this list, Chris. What is happening to Pete Prisco?
I don't know.
There are exceptions to the rule.
I thought anybody could play running back.
They grow on trees.
They grow on trees.
You draft them, you run them into the ground, and then you get rid of them.
And then you draft another one.
Yeah, well, that's what the Giants tried to do.
You forgot the other part of that. There's another part of that.
I don't think you've ever added that on to the end of it. Draft another one.
I've just heard the first part.
Thank you.
Just not in the first round.
Bill's only one player in Pete's top 10. The Chiefs lead the way with 4, and it's Patrick Mahomes at number 1. Pete, how close is he from being number 1 all time?
Well, if he wins the Super Bowl this year, I think he's in the conversation all time. In fact, I'm on record as saying I would say he's the GOAT if he wins it this year. And people will say, well, what about Tom Brady? He won 7. He didn't win 3 in a row. You know how hard it is to win 3 in a row? And this guy's not close to being done. So if he wins it, I think he's the GOAT. And he's the top of this list because until you take him down, he's going to stay at the top of the list.
You take a look at the quarterbacks around the league and the performances we've seen in the playoffs, and there's only a handful of guys, or less than a handful of guys, that you can really rely on to show up game in, game out in these playoffs and be exemplary. Patrick Mahomes is that guy. You saw Jared Goff fall off. You saw Sam Darnold fall off. You saw issues with Lamar Jackson. Everybody, it can happen to anybody. It just can't happen to Patrick Mahomes. He's been fantastic.
Let's go to who you have at number 3. Yeah, Josh Allen at number 2. I think we can all agree with that, unless some people think he should be number 1. Saquon Barkley coming in at number 3, had a historic game in that last one against the Rams. 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 26 carries. 205 rushing yards, 5th most in league history for a single playoff game. So top 5 there. Pete, are we looking at a running back redemption, renaissance for you? We're talking about this running back position an awful lot. We just said bye to Derrick Henry, but still.
Yeah, you said bye to Derrick Henry, and this guy's special. I mean, look, and not only is he special, but the offensive line special. He averages, what, 4.2
yards before contact.
Before contact.
That's crazy.
The touchdown run to seal the game, essentially seal the game, although they let him get close to winning it late in the game. That run, he would have, I said that today, he would have scored if it was flag football. I mean, there's nobody touched him. So the offensive line deserves a lot of the credit, but he's been really good. That's why he's earned the right to be at number 3. You know me, I'm running back.
He's the exception to the rule
right now. He is. In these playoffs, he is.
That team is set up to have success running the football, staying on schedule, getting to 2nd and 5, getting to 3rd and 1, and having their tush-push opportunity. But with Saquon Barkley, they get that unique home run threat every single time he touches the ball. I love where he's at on this list.
I will say this. If Jalen Hurts is hurt and can't run, we'll know more about this running attack and Saquon Barkley this week.
Because he did get very banged up that last game.
Yes, he did.
Let's jump down to the top defensive player, and it's Chris Jones at number 4. I went back and looked at what he did in that, number 5, I should say. Went back and looked at what he did in that first meeting with Buffalo, and he did not have a quarterback hit. How does he affect Josh Allen in that attack in this game?
That wasn't in the postseason. He's postseason Chris Jones. Chris Jones in the postseason is a different player than Chris Jones in the regular season. And it's been that way his entire career. Like guys like Travis Kelce, he turns it up in the postseason. He's phenomenal when the bright lights are on. And I think this is going to be one of those moments where he has to play big for the Chiefs, and I think he will play big for the
Chris
Chiefs.
Jones is on the field a lot of the time, and everybody else gets the opportunity to be more dangerous. George Karlaftis benefits from having one-on-ones. Turk Wharton gets big 3rd down rushes because of the fact that there's so much attention on number 95, Chris Jones. Run and pass, he is a threat to ruin your game plan every single game.
I like the way they move him around, too. You'll see him lined up on the inside. You'll see him go to end and rush from the end spot. He can go wherever he wants to, and he's good at it. Equally, I prefer him on in the inside, but I think he's good at either spot.
Let's stay with the defensive players here. We're going to go back to the Eagles now. You have Jaylen Carter coming in at number 6. Last game against the Rams, he was not on the field for 2 plays, and that was it. So he was in that snow. He was there. 5 tackles, 3 quarterbacks hit, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, 1 forced fumble. This is somebody only in his 2nd season in the league, Pete.
Yeah, he is a monster. And the fact that, you know, early in his career, I think it was more of when he wants to play, he plays, and he wasn't always as consistent as he is now, and I think that's the biggest difference for him. In fact, I'm going to go on record and say this. As we see Chris Jones sitting here and we see Jaylen Carter behind him, a year from now, if they were both in this same spot, I think it would flip. I think Jaylen Carter will be ahead of Chris Jones next year.
Wow.
I think Jaylen Carter is truly special. I go back a couple years ago, I was doing something with Ray Lewis when he worked here, and we were breaking down that Georgia defense, and there were a bunch of guys on that defense that were going to go in the first round, and Walker went first overall. And I remember I said to him, I go, number 88, who was then a sophomore, is the best player on that defense, and that was Jaylen Carter. He is truly special.
You know who he reminds me of is an Ndamukong Suh with an even deeper bag of tricks when it comes to the pass rush aspect of his game. He's 320 pounds, 6'3". The guy's an absolute bull in a china shop, but he's really creative. He's artistic with it. His ability to get home really stands out to me.
No Cosme this week.
Yep.
So what's that mean for him? He's going to be working against the backup in Trent Scott. That's going to be
like, hey, I need some help over here.
Yeah, I would give him some help.
Already named an All-Pro this season.
3 straight Eagles here in the 6, 7, 8 spots for Pete Prisco. Lane Johnson at 7. What do you think about that, Kyle?
I love that. Pave the lane. Every single one of these home runs you see from Saquon Barkley, like we said earlier, he's untouched. And more often than not, he's running off the inside butt cheek, old 65, Lane Johnson.
Look at that group. I mean, Mailata could be on this list as well. Dickerson's really good.
That is one of the most handsome groups of men I've ever looked at.
It's a massive, they're gigantic, they're huge, they're big, they're physical, they maul people.
O-lines, they're a different breed.
I mean, Landon Dickerson mows his lawn for fun. That's what he enjoys doing. Jordan Mailata is so skilled. They used to give him the rugby ball or whatever the hell they call it.
Have you heard him sing?
Yeah, he's like a songbird.
That's true. Their Christmas album's great. Hey, really quick, before we're going to get to players who missed the cut. You had Jaden, your top 3 quarterbacks went Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels. And we've heard guys like Leger said that Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback that's left right now.
He's playing the best right now.
He's playing the best, excuse me.
But,
do you think
and
so?
he also said in crunch time he would take Jaden Daniels over anybody.
Anyone.
And we all looked at him and said, there's a certain guy in Kansas City who's been pretty damn good in crunch time in his career in the postseason. You know, look, Leger's been prone to have hyperbole every now and then. And
he's been right about a lot of things this season. We give him credit.
Yeah,
that is true.
But he's not right about Jaden Daniels being the best
Patrick
crunch
Mahomes
time.
is still breathing.
Yes.
Okay.
But Jaden Daniels is phenomenal. And he's been the best rookie quarterback I've ever seen. That I will say. And this is a great playoff for him. Now go win it, and then we'll really talk about it.
Could be the first rookie to start in the Super Bowl here. Let's get to the fun part, and we'll see what Kyle has to say about this. Notable players left off. Still nobody from the Bills, though. Joe Tooney, Travis Kelce, A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, Quinyon Mitchell.
What did Travis Kelce do to Pete Prisco not to end up on his top
Do you think he should be there in the top 10,
I 100% think
Over
that
who?
playoff Travis, I had him right after the quarterbacks. I had him in the top 5. And
Wow.
Go look at the track record of this guy in the playoffs. Go look at the coupling of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce in the meaningful football games. And that, too, that dynamic duo is the best that has ever played the game of football. And until they're done, they remain on my top 10
Be honest,
list.
Pete. Did you just forget about Travis Kelce?
No, I didn't think he played as well this
Also,
year.
because what
And
Kyle's saying is in the past.
He did have a great.
Look at the
he did have a
playoffs.
great playoff game last week.
He's the only guy they threw to.
Right, but he didn't do anything. This season he wasn't great this year. You'll admit
But we're
that.
talking about playoffs.
Right.
We're talking about playoffs.
We're talking
Pete.
about being as good as you are. Is he better at his position right now than Zach Bond is at his?
In the playoffs?
No,
I would
just
put-
period.
I would
Zach Bond
put-
was pretty darn good last week.
Zach Bond should have been a DPOY candidate, but half of America doesn't know who he is because half of America just ain't watching, just like Travis Kelce in the playoffs.
But everybody watches Travis Kelce because of his girlfriend.
Stop it. Oh, my gosh.
Pete, only one Bill, Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And that tells
Hey,
you why
Terry
he should be
McLaurin,
that's
A.J.
why-
Brown, these are great players, too.
That tells you why
Kyle
Josh
wants to
Allen
put
should be the
15
MVP.
players in the top 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good
I'm not good
argument.
at
That's
math.
why Josh Allen should be MVP, because even though you only have one Bills player in your top 10 and not even on the notable names, you still have them winning the Super Bowl.
Correct, because I think Josh Allen will carry him there.
Okay.
And I think when you look at, there's a lot of
Ed
really
Oliver.
good players. Nah, he had a bad year, and he played good last week,
Gotta
but he's had
show
a
up.
bad year.
It's playoffs, baby.
But if you look at the Bills roster, there's a lot of really good players, but I don't think there's any elite players aside from Josh Allen.
Matt Milano and Ed Oliver are on
They're
that.
good players. You know, the left tackle's a good player. The right tackle's a good player. They're not among the elite of the elite, and that's why Josh Allen's the MVP.
Good discussion here. I'm sure you had some good discussion on pushing the pile this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Did you behave?
We talked about
We never
talked about getting rid of snow games.
Yeah.
Are you
I've
with that
heard
too, Kyle?
so many arguments
I
about
was
that.
vehemently against having domes at every stadium, but now, in terms of having neutrality and everybody on an equal playing field, domes everywhere.
Give me a break.
Stop
Yes.
it.
I'm not even going to listen.
Imagine Mahomes' numbers
I
in a
refuse to
dome.
listen.
We had a
don't
great
care
we
about
had a
that.
great game Saturday night inside Detroit because the weather wasn't an issue.
You had a great game with the weather being an
It was
issue.
a survival test.
Okay, well.
He keeps saying survival.
Sorry about this. Guys from Los Angeles.
When we come back, much, much more on the biggest game of the season. A deep dive into the Bills and Chiefs in the AFC Championship game.